Hi. Good evening if you're in the UK. I guess good afternoon if you're somewhere in the States. And if you're joining us all the way over in Australia, good morning. How's your Monday morning going? Um, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Drew. I am one of Club Soda's co-founders. And every month, I jump onto Facebook. So we're live on our Facebook page and in our Club Soda Together group, and also live on YouTube to answer your questions and comments about changing your drinking. Now, normally I'd be doing this with Laura, but I am flying solo this evening, which is terribly exciting and also a little bit nerve-wracking. I'm not going to lie. In part because there's lots of things to juggle. There's bits of tech and questions from you and keeping track of what's going on and basically keeping talking and being interesting. So, a little bit of pressure, but I think I'm up to the task. So for those of you who don't normally come to these, we'll be here for about half an hour, 45 minutes. And if you've got any comments, questions, concerns about any aspect of changing your drinking, this is a perfect opportunity to ask them. And I will weave them into the conversation. I won't use your name. This does go out live and we do record it, so it'll eventually appear on the website. So we don't name anyone, so we keep you confidential. But if you have got any comments, any questions, any concerns, any issues about really any aspect of changing your drinking, this is the place to get answers to your questions, really. It's what I'm here for. My role in Club Soda, for those of you who haven't met me before, is that I lead all of our courses for people who want to change their drinking. So we have a free short course called How to Change Your Drinking, which anyone can sign up for. It takes you through the basics of understanding what you're drinking like at the moment, understanding about alcohol-free drinks, and a bit about mindfulness and how you can apply it to the subject of drinking. And then we've got two longer courses, and they really are, does what it says on the tin kind of names. We've got a course called How to Drink Mindfully, which is for people who want to moderate. So if you're somebody who's thinking about cutting down, reducing the number of days that you drink in a week, if you are experimenting with different ways of change, if you exploring, haven't quite worked out how you want to change your drinking, then How to Drink Mindfully is for you. If you know that you want to take a break, either by stopping for a bit or forever, then our course How to Stop Drinking is perfect for you. But as I say, I'm going to be here for the next half hour or so, answering your questions. So if there is anything that you want to talk about the subject of changing your drinking, really anything from getting started to sustaining change in the long term, I'm here for it. And post it in the comments, and we'll get to it. One of the things, though, that I wanted to talk about to kick off was a subject that's kind of been bubbling away, to be honest, in the community on Club Soda, on Facebook. Really, I think actually since we started, but it's kind of come to a head in the past couple of weeks. And I'll talk a little bit about why that's happened. But it basically kind of boils down to this. Is it feasible that you can run a big group like Club Soda Together? And it is a big group. There's 15,000 of us in Club Soda Together. Is it feasible that you can run a big group like that and contain people, some people who want to go alcohol free and are very passionate about being alcohol free, and other people who are moderating their drinking. And we think that it is entirely possible, but it does cause issues. And we've had some issues kind of bubbling up over the past couple of weeks. And I really wanted to kind of address it head on, to talk about the issues of being a big community, which encompasses both people who are pursuing being alcohol free or sobriety or however you describe it, and people who are moderating their drinking, because it's not easy always to live together. So I just wanted to talk a bit about that. But yeah, so this issue really has been around for as long as Club Soda has been going. We have always been open to the fact that people change their drinking in all sorts of different ways, and we always want to support you to change your drinking in a way that works for you. So that's why we have this a broad approach, that we don't say that one way of changing your drinking is definitely going to work. We encourage you to experiment and find out what works for you. But there's been a couple of incidents recently which have kind of really sparked my attention that, okay, this is the thing that we need to talk about. So one was somebody who posted about their challenges of sticking to moderation. So they were thinking about having a certain number of drinks on a certain number of days a week. And it had been going pretty well for them, but they'd really messed up. They'd drunk far more than they'd wanted to. They'd woken up with a hangover, and they came to the community, which is what we'd encourage you to do, to talk about what happened. And some of the response that this person got was actually, to be honest, a bit unkind. And some of the response was actually very blunt, particularly from people who are pursuing alcohol-free choices, saying moderation doesn't work. And then on the other end of the spectrum, the other kind of incident that blew up was somebody who talked about the fact that they didn't really feel like moderation as a subject was represented in our community at all, that we were all about sobriety or being alcohol free, and there was nothing for them in wanting to moderate to work out how to do it. So there's this tension, right, between people who are making alcohol-free choices and people who are making moderation choices. So Club Soda, since the very beginning, we actually started as a Facebook group about 6 years ago, and were all in it together. And then several years back, we hived off a couple of specialist groups, one called AF and another one called Mindful Drinking, for people to talk very specifically about those subjects. But towards the back end of last year, we decided that really wasn't working. One of the things that we noticed that those groups weren't as busy as the main Club Soda Together group. And also that, broadly speaking, these are groups which are talking about exactly the same thing. So rather than spread ourselves more thinly, we decided to bring all of those groups back together into a single Club Soda Together group. And we've been on this ongoing journey to work out how to make Facebook as a platform work for us in Club Soda, to be completely frank, and really importantly, to provide an experience on Facebook which is good for you and which is high quality and which is safe and supportive. That's really important to us as well. Running lots of groups takes focus and energy and attention, and we are, intensely grateful to our volunteer admins who help run this group and help keep it safe. It simply wouldn't be the same without them. If you see any of them intervening on your post or offering a comment or feedback, they're giving their time for nothing to make this group what it is. So we're really so grateful for them. But as I say, we've brought these groups back together, and it's caused some issues because there are some people who are very happy in a group which was just for people who were alcohol free, and others who are very happy in a group which was just for people who are moderating. And suddenly we've slammed everyone back together in a group called Club Soda Together, and it causes friction. So I just want to be honest about that. We know that that's happening. But there are three really important reasons why we think it's essential that as Club Soda we're all in one place. And the first is evidence. So in Club Soda we are really keen on evidence-based solutions. All of our courses, for example, are based on research done at UCL and other universities about behaviour change techniques. We're really keen to promote what works. And one of the things that we know for definite from the evidence is that there is no one way to change your drinking. So even for people who've got really deeply entangled with alcohol, even for people who've been addicted to alcohol, sobriety isn't the only answer. People are able to change in all sorts of different ways, both moderating and going alcohol free. And we think it's really important in Club Soda to give you good information about doing that so that you can make decisions for yourself about change and so that you can work out what works for you. So there's a really important kind of evidence thing for us. The evidence says that if you want to change your drinking, both going alcohol free and both moderation could work. Now, it's an entirely different question about whether they're going to work for you personally, but they can work. That's the fundamental point. So we are open to, in Club Soda, however you want to change your drinking, whether you're interested in cutting down or you want to stop for now or forever. There's a place for you in Club Soda, and that's really important to us. Just a reminder, by the way, for anyone who's watching this, if you sorry, this is a bit of a long introduction from me, but if you have got questions about any aspect of changing your drinking, do throw them in the comments, and I will pick them up as we're going along. So please do that. Anyway, back to reasons why it's important for us to all be together. So the other, I guess, the second is kind of our experience. We've been at this for 6 years, and one of the things that we've learned in that is that everyone's different, right? We've all got different histories, different starting points. We've all got different challenges with alcohol. We all want, to an extent, different things. You know, we lead individual lives. There's lots that we share in common, you know, but there is a lot that makes us different. And we also know that perspectives change over time as well. So for people who are going alcohol free initially, I know people who have spent long periods alcohol free, you know, 3 years or longer, and then have slowly but surely reintroduced alcohol in a way which helps them live well, in a way which is controlled, and in a way which isn't problematic for them. I equally know people who have moderated and have slowly cut down their drinking over time until they're effectively alcohol free. And, you know, I count myself in that number. You know, all of us have an evolving relationship with alcohol. So it's really important, I think, when we are thinking about change, to be exposed to all of the different ways in which people attempt to do this. You know, it's not always easy to change your drinking, but there are a range of options. So actually being in a community which says all of the styles of changing your drinking are equally welcome is really, really important to us. So that's an important thing. And then the third reason is that despite our differences, we do share a lot in common, and we can learn from each other. You know, whether you are somebody who is going alcohol free or somebody who is moderating, both those things take time to learn. There are skills to practice. You know, one of the biggest skills that we practice when we're changing our drinking is learning to pick ourselves up and start again. You know, it's not always straightforward. We don't expect change to be a straightforward or linear path. It takes time, to be frank, to make it work. So, and you know, if whether you're somebody who is thinking about moderating and you really mess up, or if you're somebody who is going alcohol free and you really mess up, essentially you have the same problem, which is that you had an intention for the way in which you wanted your relationship with alcohol to be, and it didn't work out. You know, there's a lot that bonds us, even at those moments where we feel like we can be pursuing very different goals. So that's I guess the third and most important reason is that we can really learn from each other. But I wanted to address kind of some of the practical issues about the business of being in community, you know, being in this community of 15,000 people with all sorts of different ways in which we're changing our drinking at all sorts of different stages as well. You know, we've got people in our community who are really struggling to get going and struggling with day one, all the way through to people, you know, our volunteer admins among them who have been alcohol free for years. You know, we've got a vast range of experience. So there are some practical things. Also, a question from someone. Who says, I'm taking a 3-month break from alcohol to try and get some perspective on why I drink and when. Brilliant, good work on that. What does the science say is the best way to try and reintroduce it after 3 months, if I still want to? I also tend to have that once you pop, you can't stop syndrome. Yeah, know that. People in the community often talk about having an off switch. I should say it's not a literal thing. You know, there is no one thing that makes us predisposed to being able to stop or start. It's different for everyone. But yeah, so what I would say is not actually what the science says, but just what our experience says, is that the skills that you need to moderate your drinking are different from the skills that you need to stop drinking. So it's absolutely brilliant that you are taking a break, and congratulations on that. You know, you will find in the time that you're alcohol free, it really does shift your perspective. You'll feel changes in your body. You're likely to sleep better. Your energy levels may change. You're certainly, you know, you're going to experience potentially 3 months being hangover free if you keep on track as well, you know. So you're going to experience some good physical things. You'll also find that you may start to notice things about your drinking triggers and habits, patterns of your drinking which change. You just may become more aware of the role that alcohol is playing in your life. And I think that's the really important bit in that, whether you're taking a break for a month or 3 months or a year or 3 years or however long, if you are thinking about reintroducing alcohol, one of the most important things that you can do is to start to pay attention to the moments in your week, the situations that you find yourself in, the places that you are, the times of day, the people that you're around, where you find it easier to drink, where you kind of feel yourself wanting a drink, because those are the situations that you're really going to want to pay attention to when you start moderating. So, one of the fundamentals of all of this is about learning to be conscious and attention and pay attention to ourselves, to notice what's going on. Alcohol has this amazing ability to numb us, to we drink it because it diminishes our ability to pay attention. We like the sedating effects. We like the fact that we zone out when we drink. So if we're going to have a more conscious and more engaged relationship with alcohol, if we're going to be more mindful about our drinking behavior, we're really going to have to pay attention to our triggers. Broadly speaking, we have triggers which are around people, times, and places, as a broad category of stuff. And there are 3 basic ways that we can change them. We can avoid them altogether. Sometimes that's possible, or we can control our response to a trigger. Or, if all goes to pot and we find ourselves triggered, you can escape. You can go for a walk around the block, avoid the drink for half an hour, you'll find the cravings past and it's all good. So I would say, however long you take a break, to go back to the question, however long you take a break, use that time not just to kind of put a pause on your drinking. That doesn't really help, actually. If you're just kind of, and people can, grin and bear it, willpower, white knuckle, 3 months alcohol free, and then be quite unsurprised when drinking comes back in full effect. So use the time well. Use the time to think about the triggers for your drinking. Notice when you find yourself really wanting a drink. Notice when you find yourself missing a drink. Notice what you think is kind of gone from your life now you're not drinking. All of those things are going to be really good clues to help you reincorporate alcohol if that's what you decide to do. And hello to the other person who's commented as well. I'm glad that you've been watching and finding it helpful. Brilliant. Thanks ever so much. So just to kind of leap back to what I was talking about before, about this business of being a big community, all being in this together, and how on earth we manage that. So I just want to kind of touch on some really basic practical stuff about the fact that we do this on Facebook, right? So we have rules for our Facebook group. You agree to them when you sign up. You can find them as a pinned post, as an announcement at the top of the group. But there are some very basic things, particularly about this relationship between moderating and being alcohol free, which are useful to bear in mind. One is that we never glamorize drinking. Even if you are somebody who's moderating, we don't encourage you to share posts which are all about how amazing drinking is. That can be massively triggering for other people. So we try to avoid glamorizing drinking. The other thing that we do is we don't shame people for being drunk. That's the other thing which is really important in this. If somebody's messed up, we gather around them and we extend love and kindness to them. We don't shame them for having messed up. People mess up for all sorts of reasons, whether you're going alcohol free or whether you're moderating, or frankly on the vast scale of different ways of changing your drinking in between. So we're kind to people. That's a really important thing. One of the things I guess to know about Facebook is that we have literally no control over what Facebook decides to show you. Aside from Club Soda, I expect, like me, you're in other groups, you have other friends, and consequently you have a feed which is full of people's posts, stuff from groups, adverts, annoying spammy things which keep coming back because you once looked at something on a website 3 months ago. There's all sorts of stuff in your Facebook feed, and we can do literally nothing to control that. That's all entirely driven by Facebook. But there are some things that you can do to control what you see. So always remember, particularly if you see people posting and you find that their posts are really bothersome, you can hide them and you can snooze them. So you can hide them so they just don't appear in your newsfeed ever. Or if you just need to take a break, you can snooze them for 30 days, they'll just disappear. The other thing that you can do, and I say this advisedly because we love you being part of the group and we hope that it's really helpful. But sometimes, actually, you just need to take a break, and it's useful to know that you can snooze the whole group. If you can go into any post which comes out as being from Club Soda Together, and you can take a break. If you want a weekend off, if you want a month off, if you're going away on holiday, if you don't want to think about it, if things are going fine and you're finding, general discussion about drinking really tricky, you can just snooze the whole group for 30 days. So really take some control about what's arriving in your newsfeed. The other thing that's worth saying is if you see something that's really bothersome to you, so you see something where you think somebody might be causing themselves some harm, particularly if you see somebody who is posting and they're obviously drunk, or they are expressing suicidal thoughts. We do see that, and I know it's distressing, but it does happen. It's part of the challenge that we have in dealing with alcohol. It's a real thing that people get very low. If you see those kinds of things and they're really bothersome to you, please report them. As I say, we've got this amazing group of volunteer admins. They're literally all over the globe, so we're looking at what's going on in the group practically 24 hours a day. If you see something that's bothering you, please just hit the report button. The admins can reach out to people. They can take stuff offline. They can talk to people about challenges. If you see somebody who's bothering you in some way, if people are being spammy or they're being argumentative, if you don't like what's going on, use the report function. It's what the admins are geared up to help respond to those things and help keep everyone safe. So please do that. The other thing that I wanted to talk about a bit was just some of the more kind of personal ways in which we can respond to other people's posts and the stuff that we see. It's really important to say that if you are changing your drinking, and particularly if you're in the early stages of drinking or if you're having a difficult time, practically anything can be a trigger, right? Anything can start that thought of, I really want to drink, or it can trigger an emotional response, or all sorts of different ways. And other people's posts, brilliant. Thanks for coming. Brilliant. Thank you. And we'll see you again. But other people's posts can be really triggering. So I would really encourage you, if you're triggered by what somebody says, if you notice yourself having a strong emotional response, there are a few things that might be about, and I want to encourage you to explore them honestly. So one of the things that it might be about is that you see somebody doing something which you've previously done, which you knew got you into trouble, and you really, really want to save them from themselves. There's a natural human response where we see people in difficulty that we want to leap in and fix their problem. So that's one of the reasons that we can be triggered by a post, is because we just want to save people the pain of going through whatever it is that they're going through. Sometimes, though, other people's posts can touch a raw nerve for us, for all sorts of different reasons. Somebody posts about something which is an unresolved issue for us, whether it's a type of drinking that we haven't quite got to grips with, or it's a particular situation that they're in. It kind of touches something in us, and it can hurt. To be frank, that can be really triggering. One of the other kind of really interesting ways that all of this can be triggering is envy. I hear this quite a lot, actually, and I hear it both from people who are going alcohol free and from people who are moderating. People who are moderating going, I don't understand how they can be alcohol free all of this time and I can't. And then on the other hand, I hear from people who are going alcohol free going, I don't understand how they can safely moderate and I can't. So sometimes comparison is the killer, right? We look at somebody else's experience and we're not like them, and that can be triggering because there's something about them that we want to be a bit more like. So that can always, be an issue. Whatever it is that's triggering you about somebody's post, if you see something and you kind of feel a surging response to it, always, always, always breathe. Always think before you respond. And just some key things to remember: that whatever somebody's posted, it's always about them and it's never about you. It's always about them. Always, always, always. It's never about you. It's never about getting your point across. It's always about them and their relationship with alcohol and what it is. So one of the ways that we can kind of really help people is to engage them by asking questions, to talk to people about what is it that you need right now? How can we help you? What is it that you wanted to achieve? What is it? What kind of relationship with alcohol are you going for? What's working, what isn't working for you? And we can find ourselves in a really supportive role just by asking people questions, and that can add a lot of value for people who are posting, particularly people who are posting in difficulty. I will say it is okay to share your experience. One of the brilliant things about being in a community this big is that we have got, 15,000 people who've all got a massive range of experience about changing their drinking in all sorts of different ways. And so it is okay to want to help, and it's okay to want to share your experience. But if you ever find yourself thinking to yourself, I know the right answer, take a breath, because the truth is that everyone's experience is different, and just because it worked for you, even if you see somebody doing something who is just like the stuff that you did, and even if you see them struggling with the stuff that you used to struggle with, that doesn't mean that what worked for you will work for them. So always, always, always remember that. We can share our experience, but our starting point is, let me tell you about what worked for me, not I'm going to presume that I know what's going to work for you. And that's one of the joys about being in a community where we do have a massive range of experiences, that you can share all sorts of different views about what works and what doesn't work. I guess the final thing which I'm going to say on this, and just a reminder, I've been whittering about this for ages, but if you do have questions about literally any aspect of changing your drinking, I'm all ears. Please do ping them in the comments and we'll pick them up. The final thing that I just wanted to say, though, on this subject of us all living together and getting along, is just to remember Club Soda is not the only group in the world. There are all sorts of groups on Facebook. There are some for people who are alcohol free. There are others for people who are moderating. There are groups which are specific to particular age groups, to particular genders. There are all sorts of groups on Facebook, and there are all sorts of places other than Club Soda that can offer you support. And we know from talking to the community that people in Club Soda are often looking at other people's courses, reading other people's blogs, reading Quitlet, doing all sorts of things. It's not one thing. So I just encourage you to remember that no one course or coach or community is ever going to be perfect. It's never going to meet all of your needs. And anyone who tells you that they know all of the answers is, to be frank, either hopelessly naive or actually lying to you. So always just remember that there are other options. You're free to be here. We love that you're part of this community, but if genuinely you think it doesn't work for you, we're really, really happy to signpost you to other stuff which is going to help you more. So that's kind of, I managed to talk for half an hour on the subject. Came as a surprise to me, but yeah, so I guess kind of by way of kind of conclusion on that, one of the things that's really important to us, and it's something that we talk about in our courses, are some kind of basic attitudes that can really help us create and sustain change. And they're very simple, and they are, I think, should be a guide for how we relate to each other in the community on Club Soda, which is to be honest. Club Soda is a place where you can bring your challenges. And I hope, whether you are going alcohol free or whether you're moderating, I hope that we've created a space where you can bring whatever's going on for you and know that you're going to be met by a community that has got your back. Even if we disagree about what the right thing to do is, we're on each other's side fundamentally. So be honest. The second thing is that we encourage you to be brave. It takes real courage to come into a community like Club Soda and share that you've got difficulties going on. So if you do have challenges that you're facing, and you're nervous about sharing, please don't be. You know, one of the roles that our volunteer admins play is they keep an eye out for people who are posting for the first time, for people who are new. So whatever's going on for you, know that the Club Soda community is a place where you can, where what you share will be met with kindness. So be brave. And then the final thing is to be kind. I know that the word kindness can be a bit of a challenge. I know that, I'm really aware that it's been used historically to police people's behavior, particularly women. That's not really what we're talking about. This isn't about playing nicely. This isn't about, staying in your lane. I go back to, we encourage people to be honest and brave as well, right? But we treat each other considerately. Brilliant. Excellent. So comment, somebody who's going alcohol free for now, and maybe we'll try to moderate later. Yes, very welcome. We're very happy doing these kinds of talks. Just to speak very briefly about that, about this business of, I've set up in this whole kind of intro, I've talked about being alcohol free and moderation as if they are two very distinct things. And actually, there is a massive amount of grey. There's a massive range of ways in which you can include alcohol in your life, which don't look a lot like moderate, regular drinking. So my personal experience, I'm pretty much alcohol free by default, but I had 5 alcoholic drinks in 2020. So I can't say that I'm in the sober camp. Really, I don't really fit the model of what moderate drinking looks like either. There is a range of experience. So to that person who is thinking about one thing for now and another thing for later, brilliant. Continue to experiment, find out what works for you, and know that we're here to support you. So brilliant. Thanks for the comments that you shared. And thanks for listening to me ramble on. I hope this has been helpful. I hope that whatever challenges that you're facing, that you know that Club Soda continues to be a community which is here for you. If we can help and support you to change your drinking, one of my roles in Club Soda is that I run all of our courses. So we have a free course called How to Change Your Drinking that you can sign up for. We've got longer courses called How to Stop Drinking or How to Drink Mindfully. For people who want to take a break for now or forever, and for people who want to moderate. Oh, and yes, you're right. It can feel daunting to be alcohol forever. I would encourage you not to think about it as forever. Think about what works for you right now, I think, is the simple answer to that. So yeah, if you need more support and help, we've got those courses. Do check them out. You can find everything at joinclubsoda.com and /courses to find all of those courses. But that's it. Brilliant. Thank you so much for joining us. Laura will be around tomorrow for our Monday motivation. So if you want some encouragement to get going with your week. But otherwise, thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you again soon. All right. Cheers.